Hey guys, welcome to the video. My name is Gen Furukawa, and today I want to show you some of the things that I've learned in doing research for NFTs. Now, there's no space that moves faster than Web3 and NFTs in particular, but what I found is super important is to understand the fundamentals of how to research a project, how to research the team, their vision, their future, the brand they're trying to build, and then decide whether it's something that I want to put my hard-earned money or ETH behind. So before we get into some of the stuff of how to identify the projects and how to know what's minting and what's whitelisting, all the things further down the line, I thought it's helpful to go back to the fundamentals of how to evaluate a project at its holistic level. So with that, let's get into it. Quick caveat, so I am not a whale by any means. I am learning as we go, as many in this space are. I started doing research in 2021, was paralyzed by understanding which project I should get into. And so getting some of these ideas down on paper, quantifying it to a certain extent, and then understanding what I could expect in return for buying into a particular project made it far easier and more comfortable for me to buy my first NFT. And since I have bought a few, none of them have mooned yet. I don't know if I should ever expect them to, but I think that it's granted me access to some very interesting communities, met some cool people, and getting involved myself in building a project. So I have this from the lens of the consumer and then also from the builder. So I'd love to share what I'm getting into and then how we can use this information to create our research strategy. So the first question is about the artwork. Is it distinctive? Is it original? Is it derivative? So we've seen some projects that just take off and they have a very distinctive look. So one example might be Azuki's, and they have a very anime type feel. And then there are derivative projects that kind of pull off of that same anime feel. Same with Doodles and some upbeat, happy kind of animations. So the artwork, does it resonate? Is it professional? Is it something that in itself might hold value? And by value, we could just say demand. Would other people want it specifically for the value or the quality of the artwork? Now, I've heard it said, and I do believe this myself, that if 98% of projects are going to go to zero, do you find that the value, the artwork in itself is something that you'd be happy with? If you look at your wallet and you saw this and it was worth 0.0001 ETH, would you still be happy? And so I think that's a fundamental question of, are you investing in the artwork, and does the artwork meet your criteria of something that's okay? So I thought maybe it's helpful to use a particular project. So this is one of the first projects that I bought into, which is Curious Addies. And so we can use this framework around the Curious Addies. So the Curious Addies are octopus. And I heard about it from Ben Yu, who wrote a really great piece about NFTs, and I'll link to it in the description. But it is it's a 5,000 piece profile picture. And what about the artwork? Well, to be frank, I don't necessarily think that this is amazing. It is currently my profile picture, but there's more to the project. And so now we can get into what the second part of this scorecard is, which is the team. And so, like I said, I was tipped off to the Curious Addies because I read this article by Ben Yu, and it was, I think the estimated reading time is probably an hour, and it goes into the history of NFTs and why they're valuable, and linking it all the way back to the Mona Lisa and why there is this demand around memes and why people find it important. And the more people talk about it, the more the demand goes up, and the more the demand goes up, the more the price goes up. And so anyway, this guy was laying things out for me in ways that I hadn't quite understood before. And I really liked it. And so he was fully doxed, which is critically important. So in the team, who is a team behind the project? Another project that I bought into recently is called Loser Club. And so again, this is something where the artist Jay Vaughn is fully out there, and he is a real person with his a link to his projects and some of the things that he's done in terms of music and art. So understanding who the people are behind the project, because at this point you've probably heard that there are so many rugs and potential downfalls of scams or people with ill intent that are throwing up a project. There's no real substance behind it, and there doesn't necessarily need to be because they're not doxed. They are not out there with their in real life persona. So Curious Addies was something where the team was fully out there, and I liked what they were doing. Same with Javon. And same with Meta Angels, which I have here, another project that I've recently bought into. But what has a team done? Who are they? And can they actually execute on their roadmap? And the roadmap is a third part of the framework that is really important. So at this point, profile projects, NFTs, things are moving so rapidly that it's not necessarily in people's best interest to have a fully born out project, have everything built out, and then launch it. You kind of want to start almost with an MVP, or you want to build up a lot of hype, get something on the market, but then there is the roadmap. So in, say, Q3 of 2022, this will be delivered. In Q4, this will be delivered. In 2025, we're going to build for the metaverse, or whatever their aspirations and their dreams are. That's critically important to what you're buying into at the project, and in some ways it's baked into the price. But the question is, and this is why the team is really important, is do you believe that the team can execute on that vision? Have they done it before? Do they have the Web3 experience or the crypto experience? Do they have all the missing parts to a successful project, which would be maybe somebody with a big platform, or somebody with community experience, or somebody with a unique artist who has a very conceptual and distinctive look. But the roadmap is critically important to this. And then the brand that they're building around it. So the interesting things about PFP projects is, yeah, sure, you can launch a project for 10,000 NFTs, but then what? Then what comes next? And so there has to be some sustainability and longevity baked into the project. And so we've seen this kind of like unfolding in real time with Bored Ape and Yuga Labs, and what they're trying to do, starting with the Bored Apes, and then the Mutant Apes, and the Kennel Club, and it's all geared towards creating their own economy and their own metaverse. So the brand and the roadmap are critically important. And so thinking about what that might look like in the future, and how much can you actually believe that the team can deliver on that. Now, the fourth thing is utility. And this is what really attracted me to Curious Addies and Meta Angels as well. But we'll start with Curious Addies. So utility can be any number of things. So ultimately, it's in the project's best interest to have people holding on to the token, because if it's on OpenSea secondary market, and there are a lot of people trying to exit or get liquidity and sell their NFT, then it's not quite ideal, because you want to have people invested in a project and holding it long term. So how do you deliver value on an ongoing basis to people who are holding the project? Curious Addies took a really interesting approach, which stems from their mission of helping bridge the gap for everybody from Web 2 to Web 3. So it's essentially a project to help onboard people to understand and get invested and interested in the Web 3 community. Part of that, the underlying thing, is education. So anybody who holds a Curious Addies token will automatically get access to Ben Yu's 7-day course. And I took the course. It was really good. It was helpful from the very beginning of understanding how to buy an NFT, or even before that, how to get money, how to get ETH into a wallet, and how to get that wallet connected, and then how to buy. There are so many little steps that maybe some of the OGs or more advanced NFT collectors or investors take for granted. But not everybody is there. What is it? A couple million people that hold NFTs in their wallet. So we have a long ways to go before everybody is onboarding. But that's a rant. The point is that the utility of holding a Curious Addies basically would have paid for itself. I think I paid the equivalent of $500 to get the NFT, and the course was running for $500. So my thought was I could just buy it, take the course. If I didn't like it or didn't need it, didn't find the community as helpful as I was hoping, I could just sell it, and maybe sell it at a slight loss for gas fees. But regardless, there was a lot of utility in it. The other thing that I thought was an interesting utility play from Curious Addies is that they have a 100% refund guarantee. So if you if you don't find the project valuable, or you don't like it, you can return it, no problem. It's written into the smart contract. That timing, of course, had passed. It's, I think, 100 days after the public sale, which was in 2021. But regardless, it was a show of their conviction in the product. Now, the fifth thing is to look for is community and engagement. And this is what a lot of people would say is that you just have to look at Twitter, which is critical. Look at Discord and not only how many numbers are there or how many members, because there are projects that will kind of game the system by having a grind for a whitelist spot or an allow spot, which basically means, invite 30, 40 people. It'll be a leaderboard of whoever invites the most will get an allow list spot to get first dibs in the pre-sale mint. What that does, though, is you're getting inflated numbers and you're getting a community that doesn't necessarily engage or add value, but it's just large on its surface. And so the downside is, what are you actually getting? Because at the end of the day, a community is premised on the people in there, and the community is about communicating, helping, sharing, having fun. And ultimately, I think that's where a lot of people are attracted to Web3, of course, for some potential financial upside. But what about the people that you're connecting with? And so I found the Curious Addies is great with that, the Loser Club, the Meta Angels. And so that comes with this kind of like shared identity around being in a project. So that's kind of one of the main reasons why everybody will swap out their profile picture for the most, maybe the most interesting or the most lucrative NFT that they have in their wallet. So now we can put it all together and kind of take a look at the Curious Addies and Meta Angels, and we can understand how they put forward their own marketing and their own message in the artwork, the team, the roadmap, and the utility. So let's take a look at their website. That's kind of like one good way to start, and then you move to Twitter and Discord. But the Curious Addies, for example, like I was saying, they are all about onboarding people to Web3. So be one of the first 5,000 evangelists and have your friends finally get it. So they're building the most long-lasting supportive community for newcomers to crypto and NFT. And so I like this because I am not a whale, as I stated, and I'm not looking to bet big necessarily. I'm looking to kind of dip my toes in, learn along the way, and hopefully there'll be a little bit of upside. But to me, the utility that I was valuing was learning and connecting with others. So I liked the mission up front. I liked that there was the team. I was very comfortable having read through the article, the Medium article that Ben Yu had wrote, and what they had done in their previous careers. Point being that these are people who have done things, who are fully doxed, so you know who they are, and are putting this project out with their name distinctly attached to it. So I've done a fair amount of research on them, but I do recommend in doing a research of a project that ideally these are doxed. That would be, to me, a big red flag if I can't trace back who these people are to their online identities, be it a Twitter profile, LinkedIn profile, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. You really want people to be who they are, and that's a critical thing. Also, in terms of advisors, I do know of Zeneca and aware of Alchemy, which is basically a developer tool that powers a lot of NFT projects, and Joe Lau as well. So I'm not familiar with these names. I probably should be, but Alchemy for sure I am. And so for them to attach their names to this project had me in good faith thinking that they would be there for the long term. Now, in doing due diligence, you would definitely want to look into this more in terms of what they're talking about with their on their Twitter profiles. Then you might want to jump into Discord and see how active they are. Maybe founders are a little bit less involved, but I think at an early stage it is always ideal if they are if founders or people from the project are engaged and active in the Discord. Now, to getting back here, if we look at the roadmap, roadmap is here. So I created this here, and maybe you want to, it doesn't really matter what scale you use, whether it's 1 through 5, 1 through 10, 1 through 100. But the benefit there is at least it's in writing, and you can quantify it as a way to compare different projects, whether it's Curious Addies or Loser Club. But then having gone through this whole rhetoric of what the different points of research I would want to look into, I can drop numbers and then comment around it so that I get a better idea, because research is what a lot of these people are doing to get a leg up, to get insight, to understand where they might be investing and where there might be an underpriced asset. So yeah, anyway, I will cover a lot more of this in terms of the strategy of researching and finding projects, as well as some of the basics of how you can do things in getting NFTs, in ideally trading up, collecting some good assets. And like I said, we are building our own NFT tool, an NFT analytics tool, to help identify rarity rankings and insights in terms of what an underpriced or overpriced asset might be. And our goal is just to make it also very aligned with the Curious Addies, to help people succeed with NFT trading and collecting. So subscribe so you can follow along. I'll be sharing a lot more and can't wait to hear more. All right, thanks so much. Bye.